Hello. It is right at 8 o'clock, so we will go ahead and get started with the preparing to apply to a ADEA Pass presentation. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Yolanda Jones, and I am the Director of Advanced Dental Education Application Service at the American Dental Education Association. With me today, I have my colleague Joseph Clark. He is the Client Success Manager for ADEA Pass. This session is being recorded and will be made available to you at a later date. Before we get started, I would like to point out that if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please enter them into the Q&A box. Also, you can feel free to interact with attendees using the chat feature, and we'll also use the chat feature to drop in some links to resources for your convenience. My colleague Joseph Clark will be monitoring the Q&A, and we will address as many questions as we can at the end of the presentation. The presentation this evening will provide you with information about the 2025-26 ADEA Pass application process for individuals interested in pursuing a residency after dental school. And we have simplified the process for you, and you will complete a core set of information that can be used to apply to one or to multiple programs. So the application cycle will open on May 14th, and it will close on February the 13th, 2026. So let's start with talking about who participates. There are over 700 U.S. dental residencies, and most of them do participate in ADEA Pass. If you are applying to programs that do not participate in ADEA Pass, you will have to apply to those programs directly. A full list of accredited programs can be found on the American Dental Association website, and we'll drop that link into the chat for you. But they have a search engine that you can look up all of the all of the U.S. dental residencies. So on the ADEA website, you can find the ADEA Pass Program Finder, and that is a great place for researching participating programs. You will find a profile for each one of those programs with details um, about their program, their requirements, and also links to their website. Each one of the programs that participate in ADEA Pass will have a profile that looks like this. I have the program name and information, application deadline. Programs are responsible for keeping this information up to date themselves. So if you do have any questions about any of the information that you see, any question about one of the requirements, you need some reach out to those programs directly. Also on each program, on each profile, you'll see a heart, and you can click on the heart to favorite it. So you've gone through and you started researching programs, and you have some that you really are considering. If you click favorite, then they'll be more easily accessible to you. In addition to that feature, we also have the compare feature. And so if you put a check mark in the box next to programs, you can compare them. You can compare up to 4 programs at a time, and it'll give you a quick at a glance information for each one of those programs. Now, you'll still have to click into the profile to see their full profile details, but you can compare them this way. On the ADEA, excuse me. So on the ADEA uh, homepage on the website, you'll also find some other resources. So there's a video tutorial of the application process that's very similar to what you're experiencing tonight. You also have something called the resident library with videos from residents that have previously gone through the process and have some helpful tips for you as you applying to these programs. So May 14th is approaching quickly. And so on that day, you will be able to actually create an application. And so once you've created your account and you've logged in, uh, you will be able to access your application. So one thing that I wanted to point out is that if you applied to a previous application cycle, you will be able to reactivate your previous application by logging in using your login credentials, and you can carry over some of that information. And so, for instance, some of the things that can carry forward is biographical information, colleges attended. Um, there are a list of things that you can carry over. And additionally, there are things that you cannot carry over, like match code number, dental degree information, and you can't carry over any of your evaluations or your CV or resume. So I just wanted to point that out as you're creating an application. We're going to go ahead and log in. So like I said, on May 14th, you create an account, you get logged in, and you'll come to this dashboard that will show all four sections of the application. And these all have to be completed in order to submit your application. And you'll see these green tracking progress bars that will help you track the completion of each one of the sections for your application. And you'll always see that on the dashboard. Also on the dashboard, I just wanted to point out the Add Program tab. This is where you'll go to add programs. So you've gone to the program finder, you've researched programs that you're interested in, and now the application is open and you're ready to apply. You can type in a program name here if you know the name of the program, or you could also use the filters that will narrow down the list because over 700 programs, this list will be very, very long. And so you can narrow down your options and then click on the plus sign to add them to your application. Each section will have a link in the Help Center in case you have questions regarding information that's being requested in those sections. And you can also get to the Help Center from the dashboard. So we'll go back here, and this question mark will take you to the Help Center. And so the Help Center is basically your application instructions. You should really be getting familiar with that now. You want to read through the sections, see what's going to be asked of you in the application, even though it's not open. Right now, it's telling you everything that you need to know here. And so you definitely want to get familiar with this information. It will really help you out. And you can get started. Like you can create a document and copy and type up some of your information. So on May 14th, you will be able to just copy and paste things into the application and you'll be ready to go. Also wanted to point out that it's extremely important for you to proofread your application before submitting, because once you submit your application, you can only make very minimal changes to your application. So if you have an address change or phone number change, you need to update an email address, you can do that. Um, but the other information, your personal statement, the information that you're entering, for all of your requirements for the application, you won't be able to edit those. So you want to make sure that it is being the best representation of you. So you want to make sure that you proofread and have someone else look at it for you as well, just to make sure that everything is looking good. And so let's review these four sections together, and we'll start with the personal information. So in this section, you will provide you will provide some basic background information about yourself. You'll be asked to acknowledge a statement about the match process. And so while registration for the match takes place on the match website, you do all of that with them, and that's the National Matching Service, excuse me. Applicants who plan to participate in any program that is participates in match, you must register on the match website, and then you're going to come to your ADEA Pass application and enter your 5-digit match code number. And so that's how programs know that you have fulfilled this requirement. The dental match is a separate and distinct service from ADEA Pass, and it is administered by a different organization called the National Matching Service. Not all ADEA Pass programs participate in the match, and not all match programs participate in ADEA Pass. And so you can find out this information by looking at the profile. We talked about the profiles in the program finder, and you will see it says match participating, and it'll tell you yes or no. In addition to that, you can also visit the National Matching Service website. And so we'll also drop that link into the chat for you. And there you can find all of the programs that are participating in the match as well. I encourage you to visit their website as they offer a lot of very useful information regarding their process. Whenever I have questions about anything, I go to their website and usually I can figure out what I need to know from there. So we're going to go back to my application. It takes us back to the dashboard. And so the next section that we will cover is academic history. And so you want to be sure to report all institutions attended in this section. And that's including undergraduate, graduate, dental, and any advanced dental education institutions that you've already completed. Official transcripts are required for your dental school attended only, and no other official transcripts will be accepted. If you attended a foreign dental school, a course-by-course evaluation completed by WES or ECE Credential Services is required. ADEA Pass will allow you to electronically order your official dental school transcript if your school uses the National Student Clearinghouse or Parchment for the official transcript. If not, you will have to print the transcript request form. And you will need to print this and provide it to your registrar's office, and they will mail a paper copy, official paper copy of your dental school transcript into the ADEA Pass office. So, a pro tip that I like to encourage any applicant that I speak with is once you have created your application and you get logged in, I encourage you to enter your dental school attended first. And just one of the first things that you do just to kind of get it in there so that you can request your transcript. That's one of the official documents that has to be submitted. And so you want to get your request in. And so I'm just going to show you here. If it is a transcript that does not have a dental degree, you will not see an order icon. So we do not, like I said, only the official dental school transcript is required for the ADEA Pass application. So if you do have a dental degree, it will give you the order function. You click it and you'll be able to select one of these options if your school utilizes it. And if not, then you select mailed and you can download the transcript request form. And it's a paper document and it'll have a barcode. You give it to the registrar's office and they will include it with your official dental school transcript when they mail it into our office. Additionally, if you've attended a foreign dental institution, you will be able to order your ECE or WES right here within the application as well. So all of that is done electronically to help make this a smoother process. So also in the academic history section, you have the ability to add test scores. So we have two tabs for this, standardized test, and you can enter GRE, TOEFL, and then we also have a tab for the ADA standardized test. And so that's for the ADAT, the national boards, the integrated boards. Now, right here, this is self-reporting. You're saying that you've taken it, you've passed it, but you also have the ability to go directly to either ETS or to the ADA and initiate a request to have those official TOEFL scores from the ETS or the official National Board or Integrated Boards from the ADA submitted electronically to ADEA Pass, and then you'll have your self-reported scores, which some programs they kind of look at as a preliminary review, and then they will see that your application gets updated as long as you initiate that process with the official test scores later. We're going to go back to my application. And now we're going to talk about the supporting information. So the supporting information section of the application allows you to enter information about your experiences, achievements, and licenses. Additionally, you will request your evaluations, and you can upload a copy of your CV or resume here. As well as your undergraduate transcripts. And so it is very important in this section. I went to the document section. So the documents is where you upload your CV or resume. And you see here, one is required. It's required to submit your application. And so if, you do maybe an internship or something comes up later and you need to update your resume at a later date, you do have the ability to update that at a later date because these other blocks are not required. So only one. You have to have one initially. And then you'll also see unofficial undergraduate transcripts. You have the ability to upload that here as well. So, something that I like to point out right here, you should only be uploading your CV or resume and your unofficial undergraduate transcript. So, you don't want to upload a copy of a notarized document or a paper or something in these other slots because one, the program isn't looking for that information there. And then two, if you need to update your resume later, you no longer have that space because you've utilized it for other things. And again, just talking about kind of back to the proofreading, you want to make sure that you're following the instructions and so that your application is a good representation of you. So also in this section, we have our evaluations. And ADEA Pass has two types of evaluations. The professional evaluation form, which we call a PEF, and the institution evaluation form, which we call a IEF. And so all of the evaluations must be submitted electronically, and all of the evaluations will go to every program that you designate in your application. So we'll talk about the professional evaluation. So the PEF is your traditional letter of recommendation, and you can submit, excuse me, a minimum of 3 professional evaluations is required, but up to 5 can be accepted. And so in the application, once you go to request these evaluations, you want to make sure that you have talked with your evaluator and that they are aware and that you obtain their email address because you're going to have to enter the email address of the evaluator that you're going to be requesting this evaluation from. And this is a completely electronic process. We do not accept any paper evaluations. Once you enter the information and you submit your request, the evaluator will receive an email with instructions on how to complete this on your behalf. And before I move on, so the professional evaluation, like I said, is your traditional letter of recommendation. And for the PEF, the evaluator will comment on 10 attributes. And so those are integrity, professional demeanor, clinical skills, reaction to criticism, didactic knowledge, critical thinking, interpersonal skills, organizational skills, self awareness, and maturity. So they will rate and comment on each one of those attributes. And in addition to that, they will provide overall recommendation on your behalf. And so that is what we call the professional evaluation form. So the next evaluation is the institution evaluation, which is also known as the dean's letter, or we also refer to it as the IEF. And so this is completed by the dean's office, and it includes your class ranking and GPA if applicable, and an evaluation of your ethical behavior along with overall mandatory comments. And so that's the overall evaluation. The IEF will be sent to every program that you apply to. So you don't want to request, and that goes for both of it. So the professional evaluation and the institution evaluations, they are all electronic and they will be sent to every program that you are applying to. So you don't want to request that an evaluator be specific and to include a institution name or to be specific on a program specialty that you may be applying to. Because remember, all of these evaluations are going to every program that you are applying to. And I also wanted to point out, and I can't show you because this is my test application, I have submitted it. But for the institution evaluation, when you click to submit a request, there will be a drop-down box. And in that drop-down box, you want to select your dental school attended. And unlike the PEF where you have to get an email address, for the institution evaluation, we have already preset all of the US dental schools and some of the international schools. And so you want to find your school on the list and select it. And once you submit the request, it will go to the designated person that is responsible for completing the institution evaluation form. If you have attended a foreign institution and you do not see your dental school on the pull down list, you will select other. And once you select other, in that case, you will need to obtain an email address and enter the information. And the same goes with this. The evaluators will receive an email explaining what they need to do in order to complete the evaluation on your behalf. And so finally, we're going to get to the program materials section, but just kind of to point out. So the personal information, the academic history, and the supporting information, we consider that the core application. So everything in all three of those sections will go to every program that you are applying to. It is not specific to any one or another. It will go to every program that you are applying to. And so finally, we're going to talk about the program materials. So in the program materials section, you will find each program selected. So each program that you have selected in your application, you will find a specific section to upload the personal statement and possibly additional documents and additional questions to answer. And so when uploading your personal statement, you want to be sure to review any screen instructions, as some of the programs have identified very specific topics that they want the personal statement to address. You have the ability to submit the same personal statement for each program, or you can customize your personal statement to individual programs or individual specialties. But again, I want to make sure that you read those on screen instructions because some programs will be specific and what they want that personal statement to be about. And so, just kind of show you a program here, you'll see that they will have tabs. And so, they may have additional questions. They may have additional documents, and this is where you're going to request upload your personal statement. And you don't see any comments, but sometimes there may be comments here that may give you some instructions on what your personal statement needs to be about. So while all the information in the first three sections will go to every program, in the program materials section, that information will only go to that specific program. So when you upload your, let me go back, sorry. When you upload your personal statement for a particular program, it's only going to that program. So you want to be careful if you are customizing your personal statement to make sure that you name them something so that you don't get confused if you're doing multiple, but you can upload those here. So as you complete each section of the application, you will see a green check mark, just letting you know the completion, and you have to have everything completed in order to submit. Once all four sections are completed, you will be able to submit. So once you have submitted your application, you want to also monitor your application status, and you do that by clicking on the Check Status tab. And so here you can ensure that you'll see the dates of when your transcripts arrive, when your evaluations have been received, when it once you submit official requests for submit official test scores, you can see the dates of when that information is received. So you definitely want to monitor your application. You also want to make sure that you're monitoring your emails because you will receive emails about your application. And you'll get notifications inside your application as well as your email that you have on file. So it's really important to check your status, to monitor the status of your application and to check your emails and make sure that you're responding to any inquiries if we have that we have, and also in monitoring your email, because if programs are emailing you about questions or need other information or saying, would you like to come for an interview? Those kinds of things. You want to make sure that you're responding to things in a very timely manner. So if you do have any questions, again, I just remind you that you can get to the Help Center from the dashboard. Let me go back and show you something else. Also, within each section, there are links to the Help Center, and it's going to be very specific for that particular section. So that's helpful. So you don't have to go searching through things. You're already on that particular section. So that's helpful. And so we also have a customer service department that can answer questions that are available on Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And so this concludes my presentation. Everything that I covered today is available on the ADEA Pass website. Again, you will get a copy of this recording. And so now my colleague Joe, I'm going to stop sharing. And my colleague Joe is going to join me, and we're going to answer some of the questions that have been coming into the Q&A.
Hi, everybody. So we did get a lot of questions here. And I'm just gonna go through some of these, the real ones that a lot of everyone is asking. The first one that really caught my eye here was what transcripts do need to be sent to ADEA Pass?
So you only need to have the official dental school transcript sent to pass. That is the only transcript that is required in the ADEA Pass application. And you do have the ability to upload unofficial undergraduate transcripts in the application. But because that is that is uploaded by the applicant, that is considered unofficial. The only official transcript that needs to be sent to ADEA Pass is your dental school transcript.
Yolanda, another question that we had a lot here was about the National Matching Service. Can they sign up for the National Matching Service now, or should they wait until after the application cycle opens on May 14th?
So usually, and I didn't confirm that, but usually they open the same day as us. So I would definitely encourage you to check the website. Once the ADEA Pass application opens, usually Match opens the same day. And then at that time you can register, and that way you'll have your match code number and you'll be ready to go.
Another question here that we've gotten a lot here is about personal statement. So I know that there's a personal statement under the supporting information, but some schools require their own specific personal statement. Is there a spot for applicants to upload a personal statement if a school is requesting a specific one?
So the personal statement is, you will find it in the program materials section. And so that is very specific to each program. So every program, their personal statement will be uploaded in that personal materials section. And kind of like I was talking earlier, that some of them will give you very specific topics that they want the personal statement to be about. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to that, and you can upload it. So anything in program materials is only going to be provided to that particular program. So that is where you will find it for every program.
Another question here is, can I apply to more programs after I submit my application the first time?
That is a great question. Absolutely, you can. You can apply to programs after you have created your application, after you have submitted your initial application.
Another great question here is, should I wait before submitting my application if I'm waiting on transcripts, evaluations, or test scores?
I'm sorry, repeat that for me, Joe.
Um, the question was, should I wait until my transcripts, evaluations, or official test scores are received before I submit my application?
No, so you have to go in, you have to actually submit your request. So once you enter in the evaluations and you have that request in there, as long as you have at least three, it will this you will be able to submit your application, and then the evaluators will be able to submit their request, and then you'll notice that they'll start to complete your application afterwards. And the same with the transcript.
Right. So in other words, if you're waiting on those in order to submit, you don't have to wait. You can submit ahead of time, um, and transcripts, test scores, and evaluators can still be completed after you've submitted your application.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. And I just wanted to revisit when we talked about the additional designations, because that is a great question. It's something I didn't mention earlier. So the application fee is $199. That is for your first program, and then it's $92 for each additional program. And so, like I said, the application will open on May 14th. It doesn't close until February 13th of 2026. So even if you submit your application on June 1st, and then later on you decide to apply to additional programs, you can do that all the way until February 13th of next year.
Perfect. Another question that we got a lot here is one that I'll actually answer. But what can be submitted before the application cycle opens? This is actually very important. You don't want to have transcripts, test scores, or anything like that sent before the actual cycle opens on May 14th, because we won't actually get any of those. When the application process opens on May 14th, that is when we're actually going to start accepting transcripts, test scores, and you'll be able to request your references. But um, before that application cycle opens on May 14th, you don't want to have anything sent in just yet.
Thanks, Joe.
Um, Here's another great question. Can the ECE or WES be sent via paper copy, or does it have to be electronic?
Joe, I'm going to ask you that question.
Yes. So it has to be electronic. When you enter the dental school that you attended into your application, you should see right below the school that you entered, there'd be an order ECE or WES option. You click that option, it'll bring you to the ECE or the WES website, and all the instructions on how to actually um, order your transcript electronically would be there. Another great question here is about the reapplicant feature here. So if they did have a Western ECE sent last year, does it carry over to the new cycle? The answer to that is yes. If it was posted to your application cycle last year, that will carry over. You won't have to resend it. Um, so that is something that um, that is something that gets carried over. Just going back to sending things before the application cycle here, I see another question is if a TOEFL score is sent before the application opens, will that be a problem? As I mentioned, you don't want to have anything sent before, because if it is sent before the application cycle opens, we won't be able to process it. Yolanda, can you go over the application fees again? And we had a question here about what the initial fee is, and then for any additional programs that they apply to.
Absolutely. It's $199 for the first program and $92 for each additional program.
Thank you. Another question here about transcripts. So if an applicant does have undergraduate transcripts, what can they do with those? Where do they send those?
So you can upload the unofficial copies of that. And I would encourage you to check the program finder and look at their profile and see if programs are requiring that information. And programs may ask to have them submitted directly to their program, or they may need them at a certain point in the process. Um, you could start out with just uploading them to your application and finding out if the programs need them, and if they do, how that you need to handle that.
Thanks, Yolanda. Here's another great question, which I'll answer myself here. Um, how can we tell if our ADEA Pass application is complete? So in order for your application to be considered complete, your official dental school transcripts or your Western ECE needs to be received by ADEA Pass. Um, your professional evaluations that the requests that you've sent out, those need to be completed, and your institutional evaluation form, that needs to be completed, or if you're unable to get that, you can request for an exception. And the application has to actually be submitted as well. So if you've submitted and all of your materials are in, like as far as your dental school transcripts and your references, your application will be considered complete. And you can check the status of that by clicking on the check status tab on your application. When you're logged into your application, you'll see that in the top right-hand corner. When you click that, it'll show you which references have been received, which transcripts have been received, and it'll show you if there's anything outstanding as well.
Thank you.
Let's see. Yolanda, where can they upload their CV and resume?
So that can be uploaded under supporting information in the application. There's a section called Documents, and you will see it. It's labeled CV or resume, and it is required in order to submit your application.
Here's another great question. Can you indicate which references are sent to which programs?
You cannot. That is a great question. You cannot remember all evaluations. So that's all of your professional evaluations. So if you have three, if you have five, all of the professional evaluations will go to every program that you designate in your application, as well as your institution evaluation.
Thanks, Yolanda. And that's a great point because I know we get a lot of questions sometimes about um, whether or not references should make um, their letters school specific or program specific or whatever. And because they're being seen by any program that you apply to, we typically recommend that you let your letter writers know that they should just be a generic and not mention anything specific. Another great question too is if they're not able to get an institutional evaluation, what can they do in this situation?
That is a great question. So in the application, and because I have submitted, I can't pull it up, but there is a request for exception. And so that is if you have attended a dental school that is closed. Um, and I forget the other option. Joe, do you remember it?
Um, it's if the dental school is closed or the dean's no longer there, I believe.
Or, no, well, it'll clearly tell you on the screen. My apologies for that. But you can select it. And what that will do, it will allow you to include a description um, of why you're unable to obtain this document. So it's if there is some type of, let's say, war or something going on, right? And you can't get that evaluation submitted, or the school has closed and you no longer can get that information, and you would explain why you cannot get that evaluation. Now this will only waive the right for the ADEA pass application, so it's going to allow you to submit without having it, and the program is going to see the description that the exception description that you've entered as to why you can't, and the program will be in touch with you directly regarding if they need something in addition to this, or to talk to you about the situation so that they can gain more insight on why this was submitted. So it's only going to waive the right, to get you through the application, but you still may have to submit something to the programs. It really depends on the programs individually, and they will let you know for sure.
Here's another great question. If you're applying to two different types of programs, um, and your resume needs to be, if you needed to add or change your resume, are you able to do that?
So that's a great question. I For your resume, don't want to make it specific to any particular program because that is in that core application. So everything in that core set of application, that those first three sections, that's going to every program that you are applying to. So that's if it's endodontics, if it's GPR programs, if it's anesthesiology. So you don't want to do that. Um, Yeah, you just don't want to do that because it's going to every program that you're applying to. So I would avoid that.
Um, yeah, also just wanted to point out too, when you upload your CV and resume into the document section there, you'll see right below that is a revise CV/resume option. Um, so you can use that if you want, but you won't be able to delete anything that you've already uploaded once you submit your application. Let's see. Oh, here's one about high school transcripts. Are they required to be sent to ADEA Pass?
No, we do not require high school transcripts, only official dental school transcripts.
Yolanda, are they going to be able to get a recording of this webinar?
Absolutely. Once the recording is available, we will make sure that it goes out to everyone that has attended, anyone that registered. So maybe if someone registered and they were unable to make it, we're going to make sure that they get a copy of the recording as well. So that's a great question.
Another question that we get that we've gotten a lot here is about applying early. How important is it to apply early?
So I would say that you want to definitely I think applying early is great. And I think that you really have to do your research, right? You really need to figure out where you're going to be applying because programs can have different deadlines. And so a program can select a deadline from July. They can select deadlines on the 1st or the 15th of every month from July the 1st to February the 1st. And so, as you're organizing the programs that you are interested in, you want to keep that in mind. And so, if you have programs that have early deadlines, you want to make sure that you're really on it and you're preparing. Like I said, looking through the Help Center now, figuring out and maybe typing in a document the information that you're going to be entering because the application isn't open yet, but you could still be preparing for that. And so, the earlier the better. And then if there's some that are later and you have a little more time, you want to base it upon your deadline date so that you're not right up to the wire. Getting them in earlier, I think, is definitely a great advantage. Just as far as giving programs time to review information, because sometimes they get a lot at the last end. So they may be able to spend more time early on if you get them in earlier. But it really depends on deadlines. I think you have to kind of organize your life and figure out where you're going to be applying and how soon you need to get things in. And also remembering that once you submit, right, that still is not the end all be all because you still want to make sure all of those evaluations get in your transcripts because once you submit your application for the programs, it's going to be marked as received, but it's not going to be marked as complete. And so some programs may not look at things until they're complete. They may want to wait, and others may look at them a little earlier. So it's hard to say with over 700 programs. So definitely keep those things in mind.
One question here that I think is also pretty important is about the reapplication. So I can actually answer this one. It's a question about what actually is carried forward if you applied last year and you want to apply again this year. What information can be brought forward? So basically, the personal information section, the academic history section, um, the supporting information section that includes like experiences, achievements that you've listed, your official dental school transcripts, so those will be carried over as well. Your official test scores as well. So if you do have the IMDb or whatever the test scores are that you have there, those will carry forward. So you won't have to resend them. You can still resend if you'd like, if you have updated scores that you'd like to send. Um, what doesn't get carried over are your evaluations. So your references won't be able to get carried over. Anything into the program materials section. So if you uploaded a specific document to a program that you applied to, you'd have to upload that again if they were requiring it for this application cycle.
Thanks, Joanne. I just dropped the link into the chat for the reapplicant section, so hopefully that is helpful to you all.
Yeah, in that link, it'll show you each specific section. I know I didn't get to mention every single section there, but there's a whole list there. If you click on that link, that'll show you each section that you can actually bring forward from last cycle. Another great question here is, how do I add more programs to my application to submit to?
That's a great question. So it's kind of like I showed you, when you go to that add programs tab and you'll see a long list and you can filter through them or add in or type in the name, you're really going to just click on the check mark and it's going to add it to your program materials section so that you can see what other things that you have to complete for those particular programs. And then you'll submit just like you did initially. But the fee will just be that $92 for each additional at that point.
Here's another question that I noticed that I can see in the chat a few times here is if their ADEA Capit application can be transferred over to the ADEA Pass application, but unfortunately, since they're two different applications, that's not possible. So if you did apply through ADEA Capit and you're planning on applying through ADEA Pass, they are two separate applications. So you would have to fill out the ADEA Pass application separately. Yolanda, here's another question about the matching. Um, and I'm not sure if this is a question that you'd be able to answer or not, but if the program doesn't participate with the match that they're applying to through a Pass, do they have to register for a match number?
They absolutely do not. That's a great question. However, if you are applying to even at least one, you have to. But if none of the programs that you are applying to do not participate in the match, you do not have to register and get a match code number and enter that into the application. But if you are applying to at least one with a match code number, you absolutely have to.
Let's see here. Another question that I feel like our customer service team gets a lot is about evaluators here. If you send out an evaluation request and that person is not responsive, are you able to delete that request and request somebody else? Um, I'll just go in and answer that. Yeah, so as long as they haven't submitted it, you can go in and you can edit and either change whoever, basically just removing the request or um, going in and edit it and send it to somebody else. But once they do complete it, though, that you won't be able to do that. But as long as it's not completed, yeah, you'll be able to remove and send out another request. Oh, this is another good one. If a reference submits a letter and it doesn't have a letterhead on it, if your program is requiring that, you'll want to make sure that whatever your reference is uploading has the letterhead on it. They won't be able to go back and change that once your application is completed. So if that is something that your program is requiring, you definitely will want to make sure that your reference has the letterhead.
And just to point out, that is for the evaluations process, that is something that is new to evaluators. This application cycle where the evaluator will be able to upload an evaluation. So evaluators have received information about being able to upload the document and having things on letterhead. Um, and so it's definitely encouraged. The system will not reject it if it does not, but it may have make the program inquire to the evaluator directly if they have questions about the evaluation or why it's not, or the validity of it. A program can definitely contact an evaluator directly if they do have any questions about that.
Um, another good question here is, does it matter if they get a WES or an ECE um, for their dental transcript? You may want to just check with the program to see which one they prefer. Either or will be accepted by ADEA Pass, but there really isn't one that ADEA Pass prefers or whatever. It's really just up to the program. So you definitely will want to check with the program you're applying to see which ones they would prefer.
And you may find that information on their program finder page if they have specific requirements about that. Joe, would they have the ability to submit both? Not sure.
Yes, they could submit both. I find that programs seem to have a preference of which one, but yeah, if you are applying to multiple programs and one is asking for a WES and the other one's asking for an ECE, you absolutely can send both of them. Um, okay, here's another great question, which I know we get a lot right before the application cycle actually opens. Um, you started filling out the application in the 24-25 cycle, but didn't get to finish it and didn't submit it. Um, am I still able to use the reapplicant feature to carry this information forward? Yes, you absolutely will. When May 14th comes around, you log into that application. Uh, it'll pop up. It'll recognize you from last cycle, and it'll ask you if you want to become a reapplicant, and then you'll go through the process. I know Yolanda posted the link in the chat here about the reapplication process, so you'll find more information there. But yeah, absolutely. So if you started filling out the application and just didn't submit it in the 24-25 cycle for whatever reason, um, you can carry that information over there so you don't have to redo that again.
And I just noticed something I just wanted to pull up. I saw a question about who the professional evaluation should be from. I know that's something that didn't specifically indicate, um, but when we collect and the evaluations are usually written by individuals, often from faculty, mentors, colleagues, employers, and sometimes in the program finder, programs may have specific um, request about who they may want those evaluations to be from. So again, kind of just organizing the programs that you're applying to and requirements. Oh, which brings up a great point that I forgot to mention. On our website, another resource that we have is something called the application tracking tool. And I probably didn't mention it because I don't think it's up there now, but I will make sure that it's up by May 14th. But basically, it's a fancy name for a big spreadsheet, and it's just a list of all of the programs that participate, and you can manipulate it and you can just minimize it to the programs that you're applying to so that you can say, okay, this program requires X, Y, and Z. The deadlines are X, Y, and Z so that you can kind of help yourself make a plan for getting information in on time and knowing what else you need to do. So that is something that definitely will be there as well. And there'll be links to those, all of these resources that we're talking about. They're on our website, but we also include them in email communication that go out from the application process. So you'll get them and definitely take advantage of them. It will help you to organize, or maybe you want to put huge post-it notes on your wall, right, to decorate it and organize it that way. It really just depends, but I think organizing and really figuring out where you're going to apply and what they need and deadlines, I think that is extremely, extremely important. And so, just a note that we are approaching the end of our session. So, maybe, Joe, maybe time for maybe two more questions, and then we can
Sure.
call it a night.
Um, I noticed that we get this one a lot too is can a school tell if I am a reapplicant or not? Well, there isn't anything specifically that the school will see right off the bat that says that you're a reapplicant. However, they might notice that you applied in the previous cycle before if you applied to them in the 24-25 cycle. But there isn't anything actually that like indicates right on your application that you're a reapplicant, if that makes sense. Just find one more final question here. Let's see. Is there a place for applicants to submit headshots, or should they include this in the CV?
That is a great question. That's a great question to go off on, right? To end our session. So no, there is not. With the ADEA Pass application process, for legal purposes, we are not allowed to collect a photo. So there is not a place that you can upload it. You should not put it on your CV. Um, some programs will indicate that that is a requirement, and they might have a link to like a Survey Monkey or some type of Google form that you can submit it, or they may say that they want you to email it. So that is something that you definitely to check the program finders profiles. And if they have that indicated there, those are the programs that are requesting it. So you want to make sure that you're submitting it in whatever way that they have identified, but you cannot upload it with the ADEA Pass application.
Perfect.
So Joe, this has been great. I appreciate it. Also want to give a shout out to Emily Reinberger. I did not introduce her in the beginning. My apologies for that. She has been in the chat and she has also been helping answer questions as we go along. I know a lot of questions come up. Just a reminder that we do have a customer service team that's available even now to answer questions. Well, not, excuse me, not now, tonight, but Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 Eastern Time. You can email, you can call if you do have questions, and they will help you out. We will also, again, make sure that this recording goes out, which has the Q&A, which is helpful. There's also a video that's very similar to what I did the beginning of this demo that lives on our website. It's always there, so you can always refer to that. I appreciate everybody's time for coming and spending your evening with us to learn more about the ADEA Pass application and ask your questions. I think, Joe, I feel like we had a lot of great questions tonight,
Yeah,
different than some of our previous years. Some really good questions. I feel like that means
absolutely. I
that
agree.
yeah, I feel like that means that you all have been kind of reading some of the information that we have out there and learning about what's going on. So that is the key to having a successful application. And so we wish you all the luck in the world and thank you for attending and have a great evening.